floor is open. Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I spent the whole of yesterday reading through this resume. And what I discovered is that the nominee has a wonderful pedigree, wonderful track record as contained in this document to occupy this office. And I went on to follow up with trying to substantiate, make sure that what I read, all what is contained here are true. And I asked questions, talked to some of the lecturers in the university. This is my friend. And everything was confirmed to be true. So he has the necessary track record and pedigree to my judgment. But I want to ask a question. INEC has, or everybody think of that, and it's true, that the ability of INEC to conduct credible elections, the ability, independence of INEC is sine qua non to achieving that. Independence of INEC is sine qua non to making sure that it has the ability to conduct free and fair elections. Now, going by your wonderful pedigree, showing that you are a man of integrity, someone who has the capability to occupy this office, how will you bring this to bear in making sure that your operations, your operational decisions, your policy decisions are not influenced by external forces? Please, just give me step-by-step description on how you can achieve this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Section 155 is an independent body. And it is one of the commissions that is on first line charge. But one of the problems we've had with independence on its own and autonomy has to do with the practicality in terms of finances. I have not taken over to know the nitty-gritties, but I want to say from past experience, although it has been legislated that funds should be released at least a year before the election, but you find out that this does not come in time, and then the envelope system still makes the institution to be constrained financially. And then there's sometimes what we call ignorance of authority and power. The Constitution has granted you autonomy, but it's possible you are even ignorant of the autonomy. So we will look at the spirit and the letters of the Constitution, as well as the laws made by the National Assembly, to use our knowledge to ensure that INEC is independent. And we'll have an audit to see what are those factors, and we shall deal with them accordingly. I can give that assurance, Excellency.
Mr. Nominee, for me, Mr. President, where you come from matters to me. Your pedigree, your antecedents also matter to me. I must confess that you have a very intimidating resume. I want to ask, you have indicated here most of the areas and activities that you have engaged in for the first time. For the first time. And I want to say that As they say, you have satisfied the requirements
Use your
in character.
use your campaign voice. Let's ask questions before conclusion.
Okay. You have satisfied, as they say, both in character and learning, the requirements for the award of the numerous degrees that you have now. One of the very critical things or concerns of Nigerians, and indeed the international community, is the integrity of elections. Which could make or mar democracy. I want to ask, with your wealth of experience, can you share with us what accountability mechanisms that you will expand or introduce into our electoral process to allay these concerns? Mr. President, that is my question.
Representing Plateau South, and also Plateau State, where you are coming from. Chairman, Committee on INEC and Electoral Matters. Prof, I won't call it intimidating resume, but exemplary resume. Because you were one time, you were my dean. You supervised my dissertation. You are a great judge. No, it's not disqualified. I was a student, ordinary student.
Senator, distinguished Senator Lalong, I didn't hear you well.
Sir, I said in the course of my studies, I also went through him.
You went
when
through
I
him?
was reading master's degree. But I didn't go to University of Jos. I went to ABU and came back, did master's. I met him briefly. I saw him briefly there as a dean. He was the dean. Huh? He was the dean. So he didn't supervise me directly. He was the dean.
Senator Lalong.
Sir.
Please do not bias the minds of members.
No.
Why I'm saying this is, if you went through him,
yes,
or you went under him, however you did, all we want to, from what you are saying, you want to attest to his character.
Yes, sir.
So just say, I attest to his character, then you sit down so that
others
can ask
questions. Thank you. Yes, Prof. There's a very important thing. As a professor of evidence, one of the thorny issues that came up in the last election was the issue of beavers and IRF platform, which were game changers. But we also saw operational challenges in the last elections. Given your understanding of the terrain, how do you intend to ensure these technologies function optimally going forward? That's my question, Mr. President.
You are the concerns of Nigerians, of their constituents, because of the fact that they were participants in the various elections. So they are very familiar. And all they want to know is whether things will change. So he's saying that the beavers and the IRF were meant to be game changers. But instead, in some instances, they presented difficulties and problems that could not be solved by the ordinary people. So if you become the national chairman of INEC, what do you hope to do? But that is very technical. I think you should get into the office, study it, study the flaws, and from there, you will know what to do. But if he has an answer, Okay, based on the fact that you have been working with us from the House of Representatives, so you have an idea. So proceed to answer.
Very well, sir. Beavers and IREF was to ensure the integrity of the election, and that is the purpose of technology all over the world. I believe what happened in 2023, which was subsumed as a glitch, before we went into the election, my own understanding and based on the review of the decisions of Supreme Court, we found that there was no clarity as to the purpose of beavers of IREF. Not until the Supreme Court came out to say that IREF was not an electronic collation system. And that position was not properly brought out before the election. The INEC was supposed to be a safeguard for comparison because the laws made by this distinguished Senate did not do away with manual collation. But however, IREF was supposed to provide some guarantees and checks and balances. But owing to the issues of glitches, which in simple time, I understand as improper configuration, especially during the presidential election, that eroded the confidence of so many people. So, as His Excellency the Senate President said, I have to audit the system if I'm given the opportunity to see what is actually wrong and whether we have what it takes as it is now. Because it is not just the INEC responsibility alone. You have the other agencies like NCC, NIMC, and the service providers that will have to work together to ensure that we give Nigerians a technology that everybody will be happy about. And I want to believe that the question of the minority leadership is also similar to that. There would definitely be an audit of what the system we're meeting, and especially of the logistic of the election itself, and ensure that the proper strategy is put in place. We all know the problem. So we'll find a proper strategy to be able to confront those problems headlong. I give one example. Logistic problem. We rely on third-party logistics to transport sensitive election materials. Some of the vehicles, when you see them, they are old. And they don't even go far. And when they drop the materials, they don't even remain to bring back. So when they abandon the voting and the results, and collation is made or to transport, they now have to be hiring machines and so. So we need to take it serious and ensure, even if INEC has to go into some form of logistic on its own, to ensure that that aspect. I'm just giving you one example that I know. Thank you, sir.
So, to pick the results.
In some cases.
So some of our results must have been forgotten.
The results are not forgotten, sir. But you find the presiding officer at risk that as soon as the election is over, they wait for so long and they have to even make their own arrangement to get to the collation center. In the process, they get there very late. And so, sometimes you get there, with due respect, sir, my wife was returning, was it a collation officer? I had to bring a generator to help them. There was no light. So logistics waste time, and those facilities are not there. If we want to do it, let's do it well. So we'll provide the necessary transport logistic for that purpose.
Senator Yari.
The Senate, distinguished colleagues, Prof, congratulations for this tasks that are coming out of you, more especially where we're heading to the next 1.5 years. My question is on the budget utilization and maybe to explain to the Senate how transparently we will be, more especially during the upcoming major election. The budget of INEC, if you look at it, election after election, it's not going like inflation. Maybe the inflation of this year may be 18%. It will grow by next maybe with 1.0% or 0.5%. But INEC budget is grown by like double. So how do you intend to transparently, judiciously utilize, apply the funds we're going to approve to you for the major election? Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mohammed Njimo Goje, presenting Gombe Central, Gombe State. Mr. Nominee, I also join my colleagues in congratulating you and wishing you sounding success in this very difficult job. There are these recurring accusations against the role of the security agencies during elections. Even though we know that we can't do elections without them, the security agencies are the necessary partners with the success and progress of elections. But there's this widespread belief that they collude in trying to make things difficult, particularly for some people some parties or people that they don't like, to the extent of making people to see the elections as not really transparent. They intimidate and collude in altering results or pushing away people from elections. Some people in some polling stations, you find that, especially during collation centers, you find that they cordon off the place, they allow those they want to allow in, they prevent those they don't want to be inside the collation centers. As the chairman of INEC, how do you now handle this issue of security agencies so as to ensure the integrity of the elections, that all parties will be satisfied with the performance of INEC? Thank you.
Senator.
As the nominee, I am Amin Waziri Tambol. I represent Sokoto South Senatorial District. Mr. Nominee, I wish you well, and I reserve the congratulations until you serve your tenure. And I hope and pray that you'll be able to successfully carry out your duty. And at that point, I'll come home and congratulate you. Having gone through your resume and knowing you personally, I want to know your views on areas that you think require amendment in the Electoral Act as it is today that will improve on the outcomes of elections and the integrity of elections in Nigeria. I believe that you have worked on the Electoral Act before and you have the experience you should be able to highlight these areas so that may guide eventually what we are going to do here in the amendment of the Act. Thank you.
Senator Abdul Ningi, and I represent Bauchi Central, Bauchi State. Let me join the Senate President in welcoming you, Professor George. Let me begin by saying you were born in 1967. That makes you a middle-aged person. That tells you that your golden years is still ahead of you. This position that you've been nominated for, you have now become the attention of Nigeria and the international community. And looking at your resume, in particular on page 11, Academic Professional Awards, we mentioned Richard Akinjide for Best Overall Student of 1987, late Gally Brown Peterside, prize for the Best Overall Law Student, University of Jos, prize for the Best Overall Student, Fulbright Scholarship, visiting researcher at the University of Iowa, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and Dr. Teslim Award of Meritorious Service. The agency that you are about to take over is not a stranger to professors. Professor Henry Wosu, Professor Jega, and Professor Yakubu, Professor Iwu, and so on and so forth. What that tells you and tells Nigeria, the issue is not about academic excellence. It has to do with someone's upbringing, his forthrightness, his fairness, and his patriotism, and of course, the love of this country. As a member of electoral committee, courtesy of the Senate, we have traversed this country. And one of the highlights of our public interaction is the demand for transmissions of results real time. And that encapsulates a lot of logistics, but more particularly about the mindset of the leader of that agency. What do you understand by transmission of results real times? And do you think that, like most Nigerians think, that this is tenable, this is achievable? What is your position about transmission of the real times? Thank you, Mr. President.
My name is Oji Uzokalo. I represent Abia North of Abia State Senatorial District. Mr. President, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Nominee, thank you for coming, and my question will be very brief to you because your resume have shown. When I got this resume, I thought I was going to go back to school. I asked the person, is there a CV? He said yes. The young lady that brought it, I said, for you? He said yes. And I was surprised. But knowing you as a professor, let me go straight to the question. One persistent challenge that have been of late is the deployment of materials and personnel. Knowing the vastness of our nation and the complexity of the country, tell us, what strategy will you bring to manage the complexity of the country, especially on the areas that have bad terrains and security challenges? These areas are areas that you must not allow any Nigeria to be disenfranchised because they have security challenge, or because people will tell you, oh, that place is hilly, that place is far. What is your strategy? Is threatening to give free, fair, and just election that will be acceptable by all Nigerians. Thank you, Mr. President.
This is President Enugu West. Prof, I congratulate you, but I'm sure you have had enough accolades. So I'll go straight to the question. No matter how beautiful our electoral policies and procedures are, the integrity of the people who carry out this election matters. Now I'm going to talk about the integrity of the people who either are INEC staff or ad hoc staff, who are going to be the people who conduct these elections. Prof, how are you going to set up an internal mechanism that is going to deter the people conducting elections from compromising? How are you going to prevent it? And what mechanism are you going to put in place to detect when such compromises occur? And finally, how are you going to ensure that there is adequate punishment, maybe working with the National Assembly, to prosecute those who are entrusted with the responsibility to conduct the election, but who goes back to compromise the election? Thank you very much.
I think that is a major concern. That is the question of Senator Osita. It's a major concern of everybody, because one of the things that we have to do is to work out an internal mechanism that we can use to trail the behavior of humans. In the first place, I'm taking this position on trust, and the people who I'm going to work with, they must also appreciate the fact that they are there on trust. And because you have made the law, that should be done. So one of the ways is to set up an ethical committee so that you can have an audit of what has happened, because there have been several cases that have been reported and nothing were done. Some have been taken to court, like in Bayelsa State, there were some cases like that, and I believe in Adamawa, where some people were prosecuted and even convicted. So we are going to follow through and pursue that course. And also to say that maybe we are also going to work with the National Assembly, because there will be need for some legislative intervention in some cases. For instance, there is a need for an electoral offenses commission that will be able to investigate. INEC does not really have the capacity presently. You investigate, you detect, investigate, and then prosecute. And strengthening the internal disciplinary procedure, following due process, to ensure that those that are involved in such misconduct are brought to book, even if we need to use forensic to do that. And we also hope to probably see, well, I have not gotten there, but we have factored it as part of the likely challenges we are going to confront. We can introduce a whistleblowing policy too that will enable people to detect and expose such practices so that it can be dealt with. If I now go to distinguished Senator Uzokalu, deployment of materials, the complexity of the country, the issue of security. I want to say that the issue of security is a major challenge. But at the same time, it can be confronted headlong. I know there's a joint committee on election security. So one of the things we have to do is to work with that committee and see how we can strengthen security in those challenge areas. Additionally, we can also invest more on logistics to ensure that every part of Nigeria we can penetrate. Even if we have to use drones or whatever, with necessary safeguards to ensure that those materials get to those places, because no voter will be left behind. And that will be one of our policies. Now, also addressing Senator Ningi's question, participation and love for Nigeria, there's going to be aggressive voters education and civic education, so that INEC will perform that role under Section 2 of the Act, which is a major responsibility to ensure that people are educated. You build capacity not just of your staff, of all the election stakeholders, including the political parties, the members of political parties, the masses, as well as technocrats and elites. So we will embark on aggressive civic education and build capacity to be able to confront those challenges. On the issue of transmission of real time, I was looking at the amendment to the Electoral Act. We are going to look at what it is as it is now. Thankfully, it's not been concluded. So if I'm giving the nod, I will have the opportunity to make my own input and also to look at the decision of courts and see how that issue can be addressed. I spoke to it earlier on that nobody seemed to even understand what it was. And a lot of people felt it was another collation system. But Supreme Court said it was not. So we just need to look at it and see what is on ground. So when we get there, we'll see what is on ground, the infrastructure, and how best to approach it. Because we understand the fact that it can add credibility to our election. Distinguished Senator Tambuwal, sir, I want to identify some areas which I believe have already been handled in the amendment. For instance, the issue of timeline, which is requiring the amendment of the Constitution. But apart from that, there are even inconsistent timeline provisions within the Act itself. Because you set some timelines which is in contradiction with another provisions on timeline. So all those issues will have to be streamlined and ensure that there are no ambiguities. And then we have election litigation. So we are going to see how an election is credible so that the loser will even come and congratulate the winner and say you won fairly and well. So if we can do that, it's just like a judge convicting a person, sentencing him to death, and say, well done, because I believe I've got justice. And the distinguished Senator Goje, on issue of security, I think I've spoken to that, sir, that we will look into it. I don't have the facts now, but I know there's a joint action committee which I co-chair, and then we'll see how best to address the issue of security as far as election materials are concerned. And finally, distinguished Senator Yari, thank you for your question, sir. I want to say that you have enough laws. This Parliament, National Assembly, have enacted laws for the purposes of ensured proper utilization of funds, and that is the Procurement Act and the Finance Act. So those laws that have been enacted will be enforced strictly in order to ensure that funding of the commission are utilized for the purpose for which they have been given. And if the opportunities to save funds, to save costs, we shall also do that. Thank you, sir. Distinguished Your Excellency, sir, the Senate President.
Distinguished colleagues, is it the view of the Senate that he could sit down and write the questions before going back to the microphone? Those in say, nay, the eyes have it. You see the way they are looking forward to your coming. They all love you.
Thank you, sir.
So take a seat, and then as they ask questions, you write.
To answer directly and positively whether you were in fact a part of the president's legal team as alleged or speculated about, whether in any way, shape, or form you were part of the president's defense or legal team arising from litigations in the last presidential election. That is the question. Then, on the comment, I agree completely with the premise upon which my good friend and colleague, Senator Ningi, the premise upon which he made his comments, which is that INEC, right from the first indigenous chairman, Esua, in the 50s till date, so many professors like you have been appointed. So many jurists have been appointed. And so, being a professor speaks to your scholarship. In your own case, what is, for me, giving some level of comfort is the additional fact that you are, in addition to being a professor of law, you are a senior advocate of Nigeria. And this is the first time a senior advocate, in addition to being a professor, the two combined is being nominated for this office. Why I say I agree with Ningi is because from the resume of your predecessors, there is no lack of scholarship or intellectual capacity or prowess in them at all. The issue has been, as he rightly said, integrity, patriotism, and above all, courage to do the right thing and capacity to be fair. Most of them are first-class scholars. You, at your age, have invested with this responsibility to make Nigeria proud. And look at our neighboring country, Ghana. The general elections they conduct. The last one specifically, presidential election, no litigation. Even before the final vote, the tally was counted, the sitting vice president, who was candidate of the ruling party, called President Mahama, now in office, and conceded defeat. So even within our West African sub-region, there's no doubt that we are clearly not acting as the giants of Africa when it comes to electoral integrity. So my comment will be,
question.
What will you do differently to write your name in gold to ensure that the results that will be announced will reflect the will of the people, so that everybody will congratulate one another and go and prepare for the next election. That way, Nigeria will renew its leadership and will reinforce our national identity and pride. Elections should not bring us down or make us look small or divide us. And you are aware of the onerous responsibility that history beckons on you. What would you do differently? But like I said earlier, use this opportunity to address the issues that have been speculated, rightly or wrongly, so that you can, from now, build a foundation of integrity and confidence on the people. Were you a part of the president's legal team or no? Thank you.
Well, I would have said, and I'm also aware that in 2007, the elections were not very good. That even the person who won came out and said, I must reform the electoral system. And that was late President Yaradua. May his soul rest in peace. He said so himself. And by the time he finished, in 2011, when I contested for second term as a governor, I can tell you it was much better. The litigations were less than 30% of what we had in 2007. So I know that as the election improves, not just the participants have confidence to congratulate their opponents. So that's what they are telling him. He should go and he should conduct where. Where what? Where what? At that time, PDP was not torn into shreds. No, Senator Ningi, at that time, the PDP was not torn into shreds. But there's no human being that is sane today that can even go to such a platform, because you are going straight into litigation. You are going straight into litigation. So let us not discuss with the incoming chairman of INEC as if we are giving him a clue, because you are going straight into litigations. Who is going to sign your form? Senator Sahabi Yao.
I represent Zamparano Senatorial District. Mr. Nominee, you have all it takes to be the chairman of INEC. But during your presentation, there was one word you mentioned which pricked my concerns. And I felt I should seek more clarification on that very word. And that is mentorship. You made mention that you are in the service, that is National Youth Service, when a mentor made you to become a lecturer. And by your appearance, when you are saying that, I realize you very much appreciate mentorship. Professor, there is that need for you to please, for the sake of other Nigerians that are watching, to clarify more on this mentorship. Because my fear is that you may, in trying to over-appreciate mentorship, cause some disservice in your work. Another thing I would want to draw the attention of is that of your specialization. You specialized in law of evidence. That is a very, very good one for somebody who is going to be the INEC chairman, because we should be conscious that we should have evidence before we go to the courts. So that will be a very good one for this country, and it will reduce the number of court cases that are likely to spring off after the election. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Sahabi Yao. What you didn't know, Senator Warada, ask your question, then he can signify whether he wants to answer.
Thank you, Bia. And I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District of Nasarawa State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Mr. Nominee, you have a very encouraging and proud resume, particularly to those of us that are of North Central extraction. Congratulations for making us proud. the issue of virtually everything that needs to be mentioned or questioned have been, but all other things that will be said, including mine, will only be emphasis or will be emphatic on what had been said before. All that we've been talking about here is about ultimately the electorate. And it is one of the primary responsibility or cardinal responsibilities of INEC to ensure voter education and enlightenment. And of course, before now, efforts have been put in place. How different would you do this? Secondly, and this is because you are a professor, independence, loyalty, respect, and patriotism are all required and needed by all that occupy public offices. How are you going to distinguish between this? Between loyalty, independence, respect, and patriotism. Finally, I will be sentimental because I am of North Central extraction. North Central, from the beginning of the entity called Nigeria, has always been the bridge. It has always been the peacemaker. It has always been the most accommodating. How would you, or how do you intend to retain and lubricate these attributes of the people of North Central based on the responsibility bestowed on you today? Thank you and congratulations.
By ensuring...
Mr. President, can I continue?
Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari.
Okay.
Just okay. The order. Just one question.
Yes.
One minute. Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari.
Thank you, Mr.
You
President.
can even use 30 seconds.
Okay.
Then after that, Senator Mongunu will use the balance of...
I'm happy that you did that.
Thank you.
The second is that going through the CV, fine. And my friend also said because of the SAN thing, that makes it different. I'm not too sure. I think what makes the difference is that you have been involved with all the efforts, or some of the efforts, to reform the Electoral Act in a way that will be more transparent. I will give Nigerians greater confidence in the electoral process. That for me, that your previous involvement as an independent, as a Nigerian, with the knowledge of law, that for me makes you outstanding compared to those who are not lawyers who have been there before. And I think even those ones, they deserve some commendation. Because between the do or die president and the one that said the blood of a Nigerian is not worth his office, we have made some progress. That said, you mentioned that you were part of those who drafted the law, amended the Electoral Act, which former, now late President Muhammadu Buhari declined to accept. For the benefit of hindsight now, if you were to look at that law, does it merit the accent of the president? And if so, why? What were the new innovations that were in that act that was vetoed? The use of lecturers. Your predecessors introduced the use of lecturers as collation officers. And I think it was based on some assumption that to be an academic, as people from ivory towers, you will be free from the day-to-day biases of the ordinary man. From what we have seen, including the fact that in Edo State, 1 or 2 lecturers have been
convicted for changing 100 to 1,100. And this person has a doctorate degree. So, given some of the evidences that you have reviewed in court, even if you were not involved in those cases, but you review superior court decisions, do you still hold the view that you will continue with this tradition in the face of the current evidence? Last one, an experience we had in Edo State. Because the Senate President said we should speak from our own experiences, where the chairman of a political party, a party that is dying now, his wife was a director or heading ICT unit of INEC in a state, and the husband being chairman of a party, but if the truth be told, being PDP wife, the wife of PDP chairman, the husband was always boasting that the wife will supply information that will enable them deal with the issue of accreditation. Will you be able, as you have assured us earlier, in course of your doing audit and review of what has happened, make a policy that seeks to say that if you are a spouse of a politician, you cannot be given appointment, particularly a sensitive appointment in INEC, so that it doesn't become a family affair. That's the last point I'd like to make. Otherwise, from all that you have said, your comportment, the way you present your issues, I am clear that you are mentally allowed to deal with all the issues. The only mistake you made, which I mentioned to my people here, we were gossiping, where you seek to compare just weather with the English weather. Just weather is perfect, English weather is not. If they say you are like an English weather, it means you are not reliable. English weather is not as good as just weather.
Thank you.
Thank you. You are a good man now.
The nominee, let me first of all congratulate you. And going through the resume of the nominee, I am confident the nominee is equal to the task to do the job. And I have listened carefully to the questions posed to the nominee. I earlier planned to ask 2 questions, but the questions is being asked by some of my colleagues, and I am confident that the nominee have judiciously did answer the questions. In view of that, Mr. Senate President, distinguished colleagues, we've been deliberating on the nominee for almost 2 hours, and I can see the mood of the Senate. Mr. President, I believe the nominee have done justice to almost all the questions asked him in these hallowed chambers. With the permission of Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, if the nominee could be allowed to answer these questions and then take a bow and take the leave of the Senate. Thank you. Yes.
Well, it wasn't really a motion. So because of that, Senator Victor Ome, you may wish to say a word before you depart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very grateful.
Was it a motion?
I'm grateful.
Sorry.
Yes, it's a motion.
Motion?
Yes.
No.
Okay. It's a motion.
The SP told us to ask questions.
It's a motion.
To conclude, yes.
If it's a motion, any seconder?
I have your...
Any
seconder? I have your permission. You have recognized me to speak.
No. I thought it was a suggestion.
No.
It's a motion.
We're asking questions.
It's a motion.
And they went to motion.
Is it a motion?
It's a motion.
Yes.
No, what I'm saying...
Mr. President, with your direction, Mr. President, you should ask questions.
Yes.
Let's
2 minutes.
Yes.
Any
If I move a carton, I can defeat it.
any seconder?
If you defeat it, what is it?
Any seconder? Solid ground. I must ask if there's a seconder. So if there's a seconder, can you indicate?
Yes.
Senator
Yes.
Isa Jibrin.
Mr. President, point of order.
You're not
Point
hearing
of
me.
order. Point of order. 2 more questions, sir. You close.
Distinguished Senator Victor Ome, you know I have a lot. The rule of the Senate is that there's a motion on ground. And if there's a motion, on ground, please. Senator Olamilekan, there's a motion on ground. You want to second the motion?
Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, yes, Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, I am seconding this motion.
With amendment?
Hello?
With amendment?
Mr. President, I don't think there is any amendment. The motion is so direct that we should allow the nominee who have done excellently well in addressing all questions that have been put forward to him, ranging from, for over 2 hours, he has been speaking to the Nigerian Senate. And I feel that that motion is in order, that we allow the nominee to take a bow and go. I so second, Mr. President.
The two colleagues?
Why?
I want to just do an amendment. I want to, just before I put the question, because a motion has been moved and seconded. And despite my personal feelings, I must respect the rules of this institution. Voters registration exercise. As of now, all the registered voters online must move to the headquarters of each local government area to do their thumb printing and capturing before the final voters' cards are issued to them. Now, an elder statesman, the Distinguished Senator Farahonsi, sent this. I just want to read it to you. That the movements to each local government headquarters to line up are becoming very cumbersome and very expensive on these would-be voters. So he's suggesting to the incoming INEC chairman, if cleared by this hallowed chamber, that would he consider a situation where he could decentralize the machines to the wards to go and capture those people and capture their thumb printings to avoid movements from place to place and the logistics of those movements and save the people from unnecessary suffering. Incoming INEC chairman, what this is it. Don't worry. The motion was that we should allow you to answer the questions that have been asked before you go. And then from there you take a bow. That's what that is the motion. The motion did not say you should go. The motion says that we should allow you to answer the questions so far asked before you go. So I'm going to put the question. It doesn't mean the motion will pass. So just watch how democracy plays out. Please sit down. Now, those in support that he be allowed to answer the few questions that are still pending, and thereafter take a bow and go. Say aye. Aye. Those against that he be allowed to answer the few questions already asked and take a bow and go. In other words, he should stand and continue to answer more questions. Say nay. See?
Questions or two? Three more questions.
To answer the questions already asked, and then take a bow and take leave of the Senate. Say aye. Those again say nay. Even a deaf man will know that the eyes have it.
Point of order.
The eyes have it. Answer the questions already asked, and thereafter take a bow and leave.
With the last question, which was framed for the Senate President, that has to do with the registration and thumb printing at the local government. Beyond just decentralizing, I will want to look at a situation where we can even use technology to eliminate some of those encumbrances that have been encountered in relation to the voters' registration. So if we have a supportive technology, we'll be able to deal with that. But if there are no technologies for that, we can't talk of decentralizing. That is not a problem, but we can use technology to avoid all these problems. Now, adverting to the question raised by distinguished Senator Oshimole, that whether the spouse of a party official will continue to function and hold sensitive position in INEC, or whether he should even hold any position at all. I want to say that, consistent with the principle of natural justice, where there is likelihood of bias, not just that there is bias, likelihood, it can be flagged to INEC, and INEC would take appropriate decision on that. The issue of whether we should continue to use lecturers or university dons for collation, I want to, with respect, say I may not be in a position now until I look at the various referendum and reports of the elections and whether we have options. What are the options? You wait, and then you will be able to come to a decision. If we have a better option, we can pursue that. I believe that those are the two issues that are outstanding. Okay, about the 2018 electoral amendment, I want to say that most of the issues that were raised there.
Prof, there is a point of order, so please stop. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you. It's in relation to the amendment of 2018. And I dare say that most of the recommendations in the 2018 have been adopted, some in the 2022 Electoral Act. And some of our recommendations had even been improved upon by the 2022 Act. But the amendment of the Electoral Act will continue to be a continuous process, working with the Senate and the National Assembly. Thank you very much, sir, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Leader of the Senate, approach the chair. Your reaction to a situation where the Supreme Court delivers a judgment on a matter and litigants go to the lower court to go and direct INEC to disobey Supreme Court judgment. Can you make use of the Electoral Act that empowers INEC to review results that have no foundation before declaration of the final result? This is coming from Senator Ome. I'll give it to you so that it will be part of your working document as you go. We don't expect any answer because we have closed that session. Ensuring that you put in place an insurance policy for those ad hoc staff so that their death will not be in vain and their families will probably get something from INEC, as it may never compensate for loss of life, but at least as a recognition of their sacrifice. This is coming from the Senior Senator Plank. No, not now. It's for a part of his working document. From the Senior Senator Asukwekpeyo, most critical aspects in the electoral process is the collation of results. And the most sensitive collation is the collation of results across 176,974 polling units across 8,809 wards, which happens concurrently at the end of votings. What initiatives do you propose to deploy to safeguard the integrity of this collation process, which is very sensitive? Senator Asukwekpeyo. So, just before you depart, we realized there was a slight omission, that there was no word from your state or your senatorial district. So I'd like to give 1 minute for the senatorial district that you come from to thank the Senate for spending almost 3 hours with their son. And who is the senator from Kogi representing you? Do you know him? Who is that?
Distinguished Senator Sunday Karimi.
So Sunday
Karimi is already up.
Please thank the Senate for spending all this time.
Thank you, Mr. President. My colleagues, my name is Karimi Sunday Steve. I represent the people of what we are doing today is epoch history making. This is the first time, Mr. President, that someone from Kogi State and North Central Nigeria, somebody from North Central Nigeria, will be asked to occupy this exalted position. This is a way of fostering national unity.
Is this the first time?
This is the first time.
Since when?
Since the history of Nigeria, creation of Nigeria.
Since independence?
Yes. This is a way of fostering national inclusion, national unity. We want to thank Mr. President for allowing this. I'm talking of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And we want to thank this institution for accepting it. Mr. President, we want to assure you that this man before you will not disappoint this nation. He's a man of trust. He's a man of integrity. And in most times, people close to you are the people that will misadvise you and put you under pressure. I want to assure the nation that our people will not put him under pressure.
So the people of Kogi will not put him under pressure?
We will not put him under pressure. I want to vow that will leave this man to walk with his integrity intact. And I want to assure you that in accepting the nomination of this man, our electoral process is moving forward, and we will not have a regret for it. I want to thank you all. God bless you all. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
That is the shortest speech from Senator Karimi. Some of us you may never see again, because when you get into your office, you will not see those who win elections. You only see those who want to rig elections. Those are the ones that will come and try to put you under pressure. I can't remember when I visited INEC office in my life. So if you are cleared by the Senate, congratulations in advance. You will hear from us. Thank you for being here, and I thank your family members who accompanied you. I also want to thank the Vice Chancellor of the Epoch University of Jos for finding time to be here. A good product. Good product. And congratulations. And I thank the President of Nigeria for also finding you worthy to be nominated for this position. And if the Senate does approve you and then confirm you after considering the needful from your beautiful resume to the questions and everything that you have brought here, in fact, from the lectures that you have given to us, I also want to thank the Senate in advance. You may now step forward, take a bow, and leave.